California is truly at a breaking point.
Valero's got gas stations all across the country, but it's this refinery that is particularly important to California.
Refineries are closing, supply is diminishing.
Environmentalists are cheering the shutdown because of the decline of pollution, but the question is, where is California going to get its gas?
And my constituents are paying more at the pump every single day, and it isn't theoretical. This is happening right now, and the longer we wait to address this issue, the more instability and volatility we'll see here in California.
They say decades of state policies targeting oil and gas have created a cost and supply crisis with serious consequences, and it's going to get worse without swift action. While the national average for gas right now is well below $3, in California it's $4.52, up 14 cents in the last week and up 30 cents in the last month. They say it's going to get worse.
As we watch gas prices in California absolutely ramp up and go to the moon, are they going to $12 a gallon? We don't really know. I mean, if you have a refinery fire of the one of 6 or 7 refineries that are left, yeah, you could get there like that. What we're seeing right now is that steady increase from winter to springtime and then eventually summer, with the advent of the closure of 2 more refineries in California. We're going to see some just crazy numbers. Everybody knows it, because when you reduce that supply, prices have one way to go, and it's not down, right? So before we get to our main title, California gas prices surged 40 cents in just 2 weeks as impact of refinery closures weigh. You guys have been sending me photos. You've been sending me photos over $5 a gallon in California, various different cities. Isn't it weird how in some cities it's just so cheap, and in others, it has to do with your location, availability, routes to the refineries, routes to the oil lines. It's complex, right? It's complex. So 40 cents in just 2 weeks. And this was, boom, right after the Benicia, the Valero refinery closed, because they basically closed end of January. And we are seeing those prices spike, whether that's seasonal or what we've got going on. Either which way, desperate California is importing oil from the Bahamas using century-old loophole as state faces highest U.S. gas prices. California is increasingly importing gasoline through the Bahamas, a workaround to a 106-year-old shipping law that forces domestic fuel shipments onto costly American vessels. Oh, this is some intrigue here. Got some intrigue. More than 40% of the gasoline California imported in November was routed through the Caribbean hub, a record high, which comes as drivers in the state are paying an average of $4.58 per gallon. That feels like about what I am paying here in Washington, in Bellevue. The most in the country, according to Bloomberg News. Gasoline refined along the U.S. Gulf Coast, primarily in Texas and Louisiana, is first shipped roughly 1,100 to 1,300 nautical miles to Freeport in the Bahamas, the other way. It's going the other way. It's going further east, south and east. Yeah, let's send it out to the Bahamas. This makes sense. Where it's stored at large transshipment hubs before being re-exported. So Louisiana and Texas, and then put it on a ship, ship it to the Bahamas, put it on one of 50 or whatever it is, these Jones certified oil tankers, of which there's only like 50 something in the world. And yet there's 7,000 just, everyday oil tankers. But because of this law, hey, let's ship it to the Bahamas. It's cheaper. And it is. It's a workaround, right? Total workaround. From there, tankers travel another 4,000 to 4,500 nautical miles through the Panama Canal and up the West Coast to LA or San Francisco. Now, tell me in any way, shape, or form how this makes any sense from an environmental standpoint. You're going from Texas to the Bahamas, down through the Panama Canal, and then up the West Coast, when you could be avoiding all that by just drilling and allowing the refineries to do their thing in California. Instead, we do this random F about to the Bahamas. The Bahamas. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's absolutely astounding, right? In total, the voyage spans roughly 5,000 to 6,000 nautical miles. And meanwhile, they're just billowing smoke into the environment. Billowing smoke into the environment, right? So you're okay with 5,000 or 6,000 nautical miles of billowing smoke into the environment, but you're not okay with a little bit of regulated smoke going in. I mean, you have been, and then you're just not. Benicia is a good example of that. Well, we don't want to lose the jobs. And Valero just says, no, you're done. We're tired of your California nonsense. We're done. We're taking $1 billion and we're charging this bad boy off. And that's literally what they've done. All right. Here's a good example. I mean, here is how that goes. So it is south, but it's mainly just due east, right? Here's a typical vessel itinerary, right? All right. So December 15th, they go ahead and load up in the Bahamas, and they go out to sea, and then they go through that Panama Canal, and then they do the 4,000 miles up the coast to California, when in fact you could be refining oil right here the whole time. Instead, we do this absolute monkey about, and then so 2 weeks later, the ship arrives at the destination in LA, and somehow this is better for the environment than doing what we do in California. It makes no sense, does it? It's not really meant to, though. It's what California is doing is just virtue signaling. Oh, look at how clean we are. We hate refineries. Now, and we're finding out what happens when you've got 2 less refineries. At typical tanker speeds of 12 to 15 knots, that's actually moving along. You know what I mean? For a big rig, just journey can take 2 to 3 weeks. The added leg builds extra shipping, storage, handling costs into wholesale gallon prices, which are ultimately passed on to the consumer. Oh, I feel so good about that. I feel so green about this whole deal. While routing fuel through the Bahamas can still be cheaper than chartering scarce U.S. flagged tankers, the detour adds time, complexity, and exposure to volatile global freight rates. I mean, and the whole time you could be refining oil at home. California has either the 4th or the 5th largest oil reserves in the United States. But, politicians, Gavin Newsom has been so hell-bent on eliminating big oil from, our lives that this is what we're resorting to, the Bahamas, all of which can put upward pressure on pump prices in California. Mind you, this is gasoline already coming from the United States. It's nuts. It's absolute nuts. This is policy out of California. And it impacts so much more than just California. It impacts Nevada. It impacts Arizona. I mean, some of the numbers there are crazy. I think 88% of gas products for Nevada come from California. Oh, how's that going to go? Not well. The indirect route is used by suppliers to sidestep the Jones Act. 1920 law requires goods transported between U.S. ports to travel on U.S.-built and U.S. crewed ships. Crewed, as in crew of guys and gals. Let's not be sexist. There are only about 55 Jones Act compliant tankers worldwide, compared with thousands of foreign flagged vessels, making direct Gulf Coast shipments to California prohibitively expensive. Chartering a foreign flagged tanker has historically been significantly cheaper than using a Jones Act compliant vessel. It's a complete workaround, right? And you shouldn't have to do it. That's the bottom line. Shouldn't have to do it because California has the ability to create their own, refine their own. California's had to increase its reliance on fuel shipped from the Atlantic due to the closure of the Phillips 66 refinery in LA this past October. So we had the Phillips 66, and most recently, we had the Benicia just basically go cold. That's the Valero. It just went down, and it went down early, right? It went down early. Golden State has seen a wave of refinery closures in recent years due to rising costs. Yep, more strict environmental rules. After Phillips 66 was shuttered, gas imports to California climbed to the highest level since 2016. It's sheer insanity what is going on in California. I mean, it's going to have so much impact. How about this one? Just straight up, gas prices are rising in California. They've increased 40 cents in the past month, 4.58. I bet you by the time this video comes out, gas is like 4.65, 4.70. I mean, that's how quick this is going. They'll hit 5, and then they're on the runaway freight train to 6 gallons, right? So here's one of the bottom lines. As of March 2025, about a year ago, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, Californians spend the equivalent of 90 cents per gallon between local, state, and federal taxes, the highest taxes at the pump in the entire country. And they're about to get possibly outrageously expensive because of the whole shutdown of the refineries and inability to manage their oil flow. They've cut it off to the point where nobody wants to do business in California. And this is the end result. This summer, to me, I think is when you start to see some real cracks in what happens when you've got a thinly supplied commodity like gasoline, like oil, and then you have something like a refinery fire, or something happens at the docks where the oil shipping container ships come in. You got something there, something wacky happens there. This kind of stuff happens all the time. And then that's when you see the absolute boop, right to the moon spike, because all of a sudden you've got no ability to bring more in, and you've got no ability to domestically produce what you should be able to, but you can't because of politicians' decisions that, we're going to be so green. This is going to be the best thing ever. We're so much better than those oil states. I mean, look at where they're getting oil from right now. I mean, Texas and in Louisiana. And then we're doing this monkey about with the shipping because it's cheaper. The whole thing is just absolutely whacked. But you know what? People are so busy. People are so busy just trying to pay their bills and run their lives that they kind of go, not much I can do about that. I need gas. Well, yeah, there are politicians out there trying to wave the flag and go, hey, doesn't have to be this way. But there's only a handful of those. Literally, there's a handful in California that are doing that. And they're the ones that are going to get the exposure when things do hit the fan. And it's a matter of time, and it's a numbers game. The more time that goes on, the more exposure California has with this really, really thinly supplied refinery scenario. And you've literally got 2 more that have closed down. And, things were precarious then. And we're coming out of winter, which is historically the cheapest the gas gets. So this spring, who knows? Will we see that $8.43 that one of our experts predicted? We could. And I'll podcast it right here for you on News for Reasonable People. Thanks again for being here. I'd love to have you subscribe. Hit that like button. Do all that good stuff. Share with friends and family. I'll see you on the next episode. Thanks again for being here. Bye for now.